America has sent a direct ultimatum to Vladimir Putin. Withdraw Russian troops or face serious consequences. Crimea is now the center of global tension. Ukraine's survival is being questioned by the world. What happens next could reshape history. Stay with us to understand the full picture. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are covering a major global development that is shaking international politics. Russian President Vladimir Putin is facing a strong ultimatum from the United States. This ultimatum focuses on troop withdrawal, the future of Crimea, and the survival of Ukraine as a sovereign nation. Tensions are rising rapidly. Diplomacy is under pressure. Military movements are being watched closely by the world. The United States has clearly signaled that patience is running out. Washington wants Russian forces reduced immediately. Crimea remains the most sensitive issue in this conflict. Ukraine considers it occupied territory. Russia considers it strategic and non-negotiable. This disagreement is pushing both sides closer to confrontation. Ukraine stands at the center of this power struggle. Its survival depends on foreign support, military aid, and diplomatic pressure. The global community is divided but alert. Europe is nervous. NATO is watching every move. Markets are reacting. Media coverage is intense. This is not just another political statement. This is a moment that could define the future of Eastern Europe. In this video, we will break everything down clearly. No exaggeration, no noise, only facts, analysis, and real implications. Stay with us till the end to understand why this ultimatum matters so much right now. The American ultimatum did not appear overnight. It is the result of months of escalating tension. Russian troop movements near Ukraine raised alarms across Western capitals. Satellite images showed increased military presence. Intelligence reports warned of possible expansion. The United States responded with diplomatic warnings at first. Those warnings were ignored. As pressure increased, Washington shifted its tone. The ultimatum became unavoidable. It demands a clear reduction of Russian forces. It also demands restraint in Crimea. This is a significant shift in policy language. Ultimatums are rare in modern diplomacy. They signal urgency and limited patience. The message is direct and public. This increases pressure on Moscow. Allies are expected to support the stance. NATO countries have echoed similar concerns. Sanctions are already in place. More are being prepared. Economic pressure is a key tool here. Russia's economy is resilient but vulnerable. Energy exports matter. Financial isolation hurts long-term stability. The ultimatum also sends a message to Ukraine. Support remains strong. Military aid continues. Intelligence sharing continues. Ukraine is not alone. However, survival is not guaranteed. The situation remains fragile. Every decision now carries consequences. The world is watching closely. One misstep could escalate everything beyond control. Crimea remains the heart of this confrontation. Its annexation in 2014 changed European security forever. Russia considers Crimea essential for its Black Sea strategy. Naval access matters. Military positioning matters. Symbolism matters as well. Ukraine sees Crimea as illegally occupied land. International law supports Ukraine's claim. Most countries do not recognize Russian control. The United States has repeatedly rejected the annexation. This ultimatum reinforces that stance. Crimea is not forgotten. Crimea is not negotiable. Any demand involving Crimea increases tension immediately. For Moscow, backing down appears weak domestically. For Washington, ignoring Crimea undermines credibility. This is why the situation is so dangerous. There is little room for compromise. Military infrastructure in Crimea has expanded. Air defenses have increased. Naval patrols are frequent. Ukraine fears Crimea is being used as a launch platform. Western intelligence shares similar concerns. This makes Crimea a strategic flashpoint. Any incident there could spiral quickly. Diplomatic solutions are limited. Trust is low. History weighs heavily on decisions. Crimea is more than territory. It is pride. It is security. It is influence. This is why the ultimatum carries such heavy risks. Neither side wants to appear weak, yet escalation benefits no one. Ukraine's survival is the most critical part of this crisis. The country has endured years of conflict. Its economy has suffered. Its people remain resilient. Military reforms have strengthened defenses. Western training has improved readiness. Still, Ukraine faces a much stronger opponent. Russian forces are larger. Equipment is advanced. Experience is deep. Ukraine relies heavily on external support. The United States plays a central role. Aid includes weapons, funding, and intelligence. Diplomatic backing is equally important. The ultimatum reassures Kiev. It signals commitment. It tells Ukraine that abandonment is not an option. However, reality is complex. Support does not guarantee victory. Survival requires unity. Political stability matters. Economic resilience matters. Public morale matters. The threat remains real. Civilians live with uncertainty. Border regions feel constant pressure. Infrastructure is vulnerable. Energy security is fragile. Ukraine must balance defense and diplomacy. Any miscalculation could be devastating. The ultimatum raises hopes but also expectations. Ukraine must perform. Corruption reforms must continue. Military discipline must remain strong. International sympathy depends on credibility. Survival is not just military. It is political, economic, and social. The coming months will test Ukraine deeply. Russia now faces difficult choices. Accepting the ultimatum weakens domestic authority. Rejecting it risks further isolation. President Putin must balance image and strategy. Russian media frames the situation carefully. National security narratives dominate. Public opinion is managed closely. Sanctions have already affected daily life. Inflation pressures exist. Technology imports are limited. Long-term growth is uncertain. Another wave of sanctions could hurt more. Military escalation also carries costs. Casualties matter. Logistics matter. International backlash matters. Russia's allies are limited. China remains cautious. Neutral countries avoid commitments. This leaves Moscow under pressure. Strategic patience may be tested. The ultimatum forces decision-making. Delay may no longer be an option. Any move will be interpreted globally. Markets will react. Energy prices may shift. Diplomatic channels remain open but strained. Russia seeks guarantees. The United States seeks compliance. Trust is minimal. Risk assessment dominates every meeting. History shows ultimatums can escalate conflicts. They can also force negotiations. The outcome depends on leadership calculations. The margin for error is small. The cost of misjudgment is high. Russia stands at a crossroads. The next steps will shape regional security for years. The role of Europe cannot be ignored. European nations are directly affected by this crisis. Energy dependence is a major concern. Gas supplies influence political decisions. Winter pressures make unity harder. Some countries favor firm action. Others fear escalation. NATO coordination is crucial. Military readiness has increased. Exercises are ongoing. Troops have been repositioned. Defensive postures dominate messaging. Europe wants stability. War on its borders is unacceptable. Refugee flows are a real fear. Economic disruption would be severe. Inflation already strains households. Political divisions complicate responses. The ultimatum tests European resolve. Support for the United States remains strong but cautious. Diplomatic efforts continue behind the scenes. European leaders call for dialogue. They also prepare for worst-case scenarios. Sanctions coordination is underway. Legal frameworks are being reviewed. Public opinion matters. Citizens fear conflict but support Ukraine. Governments must balance security and prosperity. This crisis exposes Europe's vulnerabilities. It also highlights unity when challenged. The coming weeks will show whether Europe can maintain a united front. Its response will influence the effectiveness of the ultimatum significantly. Global reactions extend beyond Europe. Asia watches carefully. Middle Eastern countries remain cautious. Energy markets react instantly to any news. Investors seek stability. Uncertainty increases volatility. The United Nations calls for restraint. Diplomatic statements emphasize peace. However, enforcement power is limited. The United States uses alliances to amplify pressure. Messaging is coordinated. Media coverage shapes public perception. Social platforms spread narratives quickly. Disinformation risks increase. Governments attempt to control messaging. The ultimatum dominates headlines worldwide. Analysts debate intentions. Some see deterrence. Others see provocation. History offers mixed lessons. Cold War dynamics return in discussions. Proxy conflict fears grow. Smaller nations worry about precedent. Territorial disputes elsewhere gain attention. International law credibility is tested. The outcome will influence future conflicts. If ultimatums succeed, diplomacy strengthens. If they fail, force may dominate. This is why the world is paying attention. The stakes extend far beyond Ukraine. Global order is being tested quietly, but seriously. The response to this crisis will echo across regions and decades. Information warfare is another battlefield. Narratives compete aggressively. Russia presents defensive justifications. The United States presents deterrence arguments. Ukraine highlights survival and sovereignty. Social media amplifies extremes. Facts are often buried. Viewers must remain critical. Verification matters more than speed. False claims spread quickly. Emotional content performs well. Responsible analysis becomes rare. This makes understanding difficult. Governments invest heavily in strategic communication. Public support is shaped intentionally. The ultimatum is framed differently across borders. Language choices influence perception. Words like ultimatum, threat, and warning carry weight. They escalate emotions. Calm analysis is needed. Understanding motives helps reduce fear. However, fear is also a tool. Leaders use it carefully. Information control shapes outcomes indirectly. Citizens must seek reliable sources. This channel aims to provide clarity. No sensationalism. No fear selling. Only structured understanding. The information war will continue regardless of military outcomes. Awareness is the first defense. Staying informed is critical during such crisis. What happens next remains uncertain. Several scenarios are possible. Russia could partially comply, talks could resume, and tensions could ease temporarily. Another scenario involves rejection. Sanctions would intensify, military risk would increase. A third scenario involves escalation through proxies. Cyber operations may increase, and economic warfare could expand. Direct conflict remains the worst case. Most actors want to avoid it. Rational calculations dominate public statements, while private discussions may differ. Timing matters. Domestic politics influence decisions. Elections, approval ratings, and legacy concerns play roles. Leaders think long-term and short-term simultaneously. Ukraine prepares for all outcomes. Civilians remain alert. Emergency planning continues. International observers monitor movements closely. Any incident could change trajectories instantly. This uncertainty fuels anxiety, and it also fuels engagement. Viewers want answers. Analysts provide probabilities, not certainties. This is the nature of geopolitics. The ultimatum forces clarity. Ambiguity reduces. Lines are drawn. The next moves will reveal intentions. Until then, vigilance remains essential. The global community watches carefully as events unfold. Information flows quickly, and reactions shape outcomes. Decisions made now will carry consequences for years ahead. Stability depends on restraint, communication, and responsibility. The coming days may determine whether diplomacy prevails or confrontation deepens. History will judge these choices carefully. Understanding the stakes helps audiences remain informed and prepared for sudden shifts in this crisis. This ultimatum represents a defining moment in modern geopolitics. It highlights shifting power balances and renewed confrontation between major global actors. The United States is signaling firmness and commitment to its allies. Russia is being tested on its strategic limits and long-term ambitions. Ukraine stands as the central stake in this struggle. Its survival represents more than borders. It represents international law, sovereignty, and credibility. Crimea remains unresolved and highly sensitive. Any outcome there will influence future territorial disputes worldwide. Diplomacy faces immense pressure. Channels remain open but fragile. Trust is minimal. Miscalculations carry serious risks. Global markets respond to uncertainty. Energy prices fluctuate. Investor confidence reacts instantly. Ordinary citizens feel indirect effects through costs and security concerns. This crisis is not distant. It reaches households everywhere. Media narratives shape understanding. Responsible analysis becomes essential. Emotional reactions can distort reality. Calm evaluation helps reduce panic. Leaders must balance strength with restraint. History shows that moments like this shape decades ahead. Alliances may strengthen or fracture. Rules may be reinforced or ignored. The ultimatum is not an endpoint. It is a signal of intent. The coming weeks will reveal resolve, flexibility, and judgment. Outcomes remain uncertain. What is certain is significance. This chapter will be studied by analysts, students, and policymakers for years. Staying informed is crucial. Awareness empowers audiences to understand consequences beyond headlines. This channel will continue monitoring developments closely. Facts, context, and clarity will remain our priority as this global story unfolds further. If you found this analysis useful, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others. Turn on notifications so you never miss important global updates.